Hello, art students. The first step of your junk sculpture project is to use your design plans to figure out what shapes of junk you need to collect to build your sculpture. I know I need a half a sphere, several cylinders, and then something I can use as a support structure or armature. We have a lot of different tools to work with on this project, including this fine gauge wire that can be cut with scissors. Now, this is used for attaching very small or lightweight pieces. To attach bigger pieces, we want to use heavier gauge wire like this that you cut with wire cutters. This is excellent for creating armatures, support structures, and for attaching larger pieces of your sculpture. To bend it, you need to use needle nose pliers like this. We will also have hot glue guns to use for attaching things once the armature has been created, and screws and nails. Those are what you want to use to attach your armature or skeleton to the base or the board. That's the most important step. So if I try to attach the shell to these cylinders as legs without an armature, it's all going to fall apart because there's no way for me to really securely attach those cylinders to the board there. So I need to create my armature or my skeleton. And I'm going to do that by finding kind of the shape that's underneath the whole structure, which in this case is the body of the turtle that's kind of hidden under that shell. So I'm going to use a half a clam shell and then cut a few shapes out of it to kind of mimic that general form. And then that way I can connect or attach the shell and the whole thing isn't going to fall apart. Now, when you're working with thin plastic like this, you can just use our classroom scissors to cut through it. But if you're working with a thicker or heavier duty plastic, you're going to need to use the heavy duty shears. Now I'm ready to start figuring out how to attach this. So I'm going to need to punch some holes using an awl and lining the two pieces up and putting them on top of the styrofoam block. And then I'm going to push and twist the awl through the two pieces so that I end up with something that's called a buttonhole punch, meaning I have two holes lined up in exactly the same place like a buttonhole. Then I need to use some kind of a wire that will go through both pieces so that I can wire them together. I'm using the heavy gauge wire. You could try using the thinner gauge wire. It's whatever you're the most comfortable with. So I line up the two sets of holes with the wire, and then I need to close it up so that they don't just fall off. So one way to do that is to simply bend the wire inward like the back of a staple with my pliers. The other way is to twist it. Either way is okay. Now I have a really structurally sound armature that I can then nail into my board. So to do that, I'm going to punch holes at the base with the awl, and then I'm going to put a nail through and kind of twist it into the board a little bit so it doesn't wiggle around. And then I'm going to just lightly tap it with the hammer to position it and then move my hand out of the way and then drive the nail all the way in. All armatures must be nailed into your board so that the whole thing doesn't just fall apart. So at every point of contact, or at least several points of contact, you need to have a nail through that armature into your board.